All right, so this video is a little bit influenced by by a TV show that I saw that was just I'm not gonna talk about how good or bad it was, but it was probably the most unique thing that I've ever seen. This was some famous chef. I don't know who. It was a famous chef, and he was kind of there was a competition between there was two teams of cooks in the kitchen, and they were cooking for a party of people. Like everybody's dressed up, sitting at a table, and there's one team is serving half the people, one team is serving the other half. The teams are made up of like what, it doesn't matter. But the unique thing about this that I've never seen is that it was children on the team cooking, okay, and they were cooking scallops and fish and all this stuff, like good fish and everything. I don't know if there was, well, okay, anyways. So the cool thing was that this kitchen was, first of all, was a very it was I mean, it was a decent kitchen, but the way it was designed was that the heights were very low. So it was like designed for children. They looked very young. They looked between like 8 and 10 years old. I mean, I'm tops, I'd give them 11 years old. Definitely not 12. Okay, they were very young children, and they were cooking scallops and stuff on proper pans and all that stuff. Okay, um, I didn't watch though. I watched it for about 10 or maybe 10 minutes. I watched it, and I found it very interesting. And it kind of made me want to talk about this. And what I want to talk about is sort of I want to talk about children and maybe just young people in general. And then the reason I want to talk about them is that I want to talk about how much they influence their own lives without people really realizing. And one of the things that really like watching that is really what kind of I was like, wow, how are such young children cooking scallops? And now granted, okay, I'll be honest with you, okay, the guests that were eating there, they looked very worried. Okay, they were very worried. Okay, now they were having a good time. Everybody's sitting, everybody's dressed up and talking, just like a typical competition show. But they looked really worried. Okay, and it was just so funny to see. It was just so funny to see how worried they looked. Okay, because they were like, "Holy shit." Yeah, I've never seen something so insane. I don't think it was the greatest idea, to be honest. I think they should have had them cooking. Well, they probably thought scallops are simple to cook. No, you gotta should have really kind of made things very basic for them. But I mean, to have a run at that as a kid is just incredible. So what I want to talk about is how much like influence kids have over their lives, and the reason I want to talk about that is because if kids are doing that, what are we capable of as adults? What can we do? So first of all, one of the so I've seen children in all sorts of different situations, you know. And I'm not talking about Michael Jackson and all these Macaulay Culkin and all these famous child celebrities and stuff. I'm not talking about that. Just talking about children in general. I knew kids that got into this, that got into that did this, that did that. The truth is that, okay, first of all, people will say, oh, the parents are making the kid do this, the parents are making the kid do that. Even if that's the case, there may be a special bond between the parent and the child that that the parent wants to take a certain stance, for example. um it's like a kid playing some kind of violin or instrument, and doing it seriously, practicing like every day after school, weekends, and the parents are kind of pushing them to do it. It really, you know what? I don't want to get into technicalities here and whatnot. I kind of feel uncomfortable because, you know, that's their world. But really, what I want to point out is, you gotta understand, you gotta understand. There are people who they, I don't know. I don't know. All I wanted to say was, look, even for us adults, for anybody, let's say you think there's no place for you on this planet. You will get a place. I've talked about that before, and you'll probably group with people who also don't want to be, who also think the same thing and don't want to be in that place. And everybody's grouped there for a reason. And so it should be no different with children. Yes, the parents influence it, but you got to understand that if the child is sharing the parents' DNA, then there's a reason to influence them. If a child is not sharing the parents' DNA for whatever reason, and listen, this is not crazy. Babies do get switched in hospitals, okay? This has happened before. It happens more often than you think, okay? Do you know how busy the birthing unit of a hospital is? Do you know how big and busy it is? Every night there's like minimum like 8 births, okay? If not 15, 20, 25, depending on the size of the hospital, okay? If you're having 20 births a night on average, every night, how easy is it to switch kids? They're born. Sometimes it's medical procedure to shave their heads. You shave their heads. Sometimes you can't tell them apart, man. You really can't. It's very easy for children to get, mixed up here and there. It has happened. At the same time, and I know this is a bit of a taboo, but if you watch, I'm not gonna go into this. Have you watched Maury Povich? Okay, now we don't need to talk about this. Okay, so children do end up here and there, and it does happen, and I know that my situation fitted me at that time. I mean, it fitted me perfectly. I there's no way in hell that I believe that I'm related to, and like actually genetically related to anybody I grew up with, but I was there for a reason, and and that makes sense. That was my level 1 days. Now I've learned a lot about myself because I wasn't able to do it in my childhood. I was just too basic, and I was very generic and general. So I always moved a certain way, with just a bunch of people, a bunch of kids. When I was a teenager, a bunch of teenagers. As an adult, a bunch of adults. I just kind of ended up having to move with them because I wasn't making any movements. I was very basic. So I just ended up being dragged into wherever I was going to get pulled. Right. But back to the children's point. I mean, you can have like I've talked about it, children. Now, not all children, but there are some children who are absolute prodigies. Within 6 months, they're just on a whole nother level. It's crazy. It does happen, but for me, I mean, dude, I look, man, this hair is not black at all. I've shown you guys videos and pictures. I don't have a single black hair on my body, man. All the hair on my body is colored, man. It's all colored. I don't have any black hair. It's genuinely colored. Dude, colored hair is a Caucasian trait. Africans and Asians, Orientals or Indians or Bangladeshis, they do not have colored skin, okay? In the Middle East, there are a few, like there is a small percentage that has colored hair. There's a small percentage of the Middle East that has colored hair, but that's because at one time the European Christians or whatever, it was all one Christendom, right? Like part of the Middle East was all Christian, and because of Christendom, there were Caucasians living. There were some Caucasians living there, so I mean that explains that, but. Listen, colored hair, if you were to divide everybody up and you had pure bloods, colored hair comes from the Caucasian trait. Okay. No one in that family had colored hair, man. Maybe one or two of them loved coloring their hair the same color as my hair, but they didn't have real colored hair, man. It's absolutely not true. Nobody had it. There's just no way that that can happen, man, because they don't have that genetic. I've seen their siblings, I've seen their cousins, I've seen their parents, I've seen all of them, I've seen their whole families. Nobody has colored hair, man. Nobody has colored hair. It is not in their genetics. They don't have it anywhere in their genetics. It could not be, like, if you're using your stupid brain, you might tell me that this is absurd, this is taboo, you shouldn't talk about that. No, I'm telling you, there is nothing like that in their genetic line, in their pool of genetics at all. Okay? So what are dude, look, man, it's like when people say aliens don't exist. Dude, scientists claim there are millions of galaxies, okay? Which means there's hundreds of millions of planets at least, okay? Or tens of millions of planets. What is the chance that only planet Earth, which is one of the smallest planets in this solar system and galaxy, only has, inhabitants of a thinking nature? How can that be possible? That doesn't make any sense. If you listen, what is more real, mathematics or science? It's mathematics is more real than science, right? You can't go 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, you can't go wrong with that. 2 times 3 equals 6, right? What are the odds that when you have, let's say, 25 million planets, that only one out of, listen, you know what it is? 1 out of 25 million. 1 out of 25 million odds say that there's no aliens out there. 1 out of 25 million. Okay? Am I right or am I wrong? Forget what mainstream science says. Forget what you read in a textbook. Am I right or wrong? Are those the odds or not? Ask any scientist that. But the truth is, the scientists don't like to talk to the public. That's the truth. Scientists don't come to the public, oh, we have a new theory. No, they don't. When a theory's been passed around the science world for 10 years, that's when they throw it in. Scientists never do that. Scientists have scientist conventions, scientist meetings, scientist dinners, and they talk to each other, and they keep most of what they learned, within each other. Or on a higher level of university science. That's when you really learn about that stuff. Anyways, I'm going to go to the next video.